Millions and millions of people go under anesthesia, but no one remembers what actually happens to them. At least that's what doctors used to think. I'll share with you the latest data on what actually happens to your brain when you're supposedly comatose under anesthesia, and I guarantee you it will shock you. When someone goes under general anesthesia, their body does not move in response to painful stimuli. You can poke them or cut them, they won't move. That's the definition of general anesthesia. But if someone isn't physically moving, can their brain still be processing? That's the million-dollar question. Instead of just reflexively saying, no, that's impossible, and gaslighting patients who come to me with unexplainable experiences under anesthesia, let's actually look at the facts. In 2023, researchers put men and women to sleep and paralyzed their whole body except for one hand. They did this by giving patients general anesthesia and paralyzing medication in their IV, but putting a tourniquet on a forearm so that the paralyzing medicine would still preserve one hand's motor function. Then they gave them verbal commands when they were supposed to be asleep from the anesthesia. And surprisingly, 11% of patients appeared to respond with their unparalyzed hand. They were supposed to be asleep, and this occurred more frequently in women than in men. The 11% doesn't refer to people awake under anesthesia. It was people who could subconsciously respond under anesthesia without remembering anything. To be clear, they weren't traumatized. So it's one thing to read about these crazy reports in the literature. What about my real experiences? I've never shared this story before because it really shook me up. This was the most striking example I've ever seen. It was a young woman having facial surgery. And near the end of the procedure, she had a code blue. Her heart nearly stopped beating, and I had to call a giant emergency to the operating room. Fortunately, we got her back and she was totally okay. But when she woke up, she looked at me in the eye and said, "Did I die?" My heart sank through the floor when she asked me this. She was under anesthesia and her heart had nearly stopped beating. She was supposed to be completely unconscious, but her brain had processed something about the panic and emergency in the room. I spoke to her for a long time after she woke up. She had no memory of the surgery or the emergency, but she had a strong sense that something had gone wrong. Fortunately, after explaining the situation to her and acknowledging her experience, she was perfectly fine. She wasn't alarmed, she wasn't traumatized. That's why it's so important to not gaslight patients when they share these experiences. This is so important that I'm gonna repeat it again. It's crucial to acknowledge patients' experience and engage and ask them questions. This is the difference between helping someone heal and causing PTSD in their future. Have you been gaslight like this before? Let me know in the comments below. So if the brain can process things when it's supposedly unconscious, can it also respond to things in a meaningful way? There's actually research on this. An incredible study from Germany looked at patients under general anesthesia and played positive therapeutic suggestions to one group through headphones. The control group had a neutral recording through their headphones. The patients who heard positive affirmations when they were under general anesthesia woke up needing fewer opioid pain medications. This was so unexpected that the researchers named this journal edition Dr. Strange, because it suggested that even under anesthesia, the brain may still be taking in more than we ever expected. And it's not just for pain. Similar work has shown that therapeutic suggestions may also reduce nausea after surgery. And that's really important because many patients will rate nausea as worse than pain after anesthesia. And it's not just one or two studies. In 2016, a meta-analysis evaluated over 30 randomized controlled trials investigating therapeutic suggestions under anesthesia. They concluded that despite small effect sizes, these hypnotic suggestions can reduce the need for medications and enhance recovery. No extra medications, no side effects, negligible extra costs. Just acknowledging patients and their experience and supporting them. So this idea that the brain is just completely gone under general anesthesia is too simplistic. You've probably never heard this before. Neither had I in all of my medical training at Stanford and Harvard. I learned all this after I graduated and firsthand observed this in my patients as an attending physician. But these effects get way more impressive. As a reminder before I share some more shocking realities, remember to hit that like button and share what you're learning with your loved ones. You can learn more about altered states of consciousness and my medical practice around this by visiting my San Francisco clinic's website at claris-health.com, so you can better advocate with your doctors. So another incredible case I had was from an elderly woman who was paralyzed in one leg. She had what's called conversion disorder, effectively where emotional trauma shows up as physical symptoms. In her case, her paralysis started shortly after the death of her son from an overdose. She had been through extensive neurological workups with no structural damage identified. She later had surgery on her other leg, and I was her anesthesiologist for that surgery. Nothing unusual happened during that operation, but a few weeks later she contacted me and told me she could start moving her other leg. She said our conversation before going under anesthesia had triggered a cascade of healing that ultimately led her to being able to move her other paralyzed leg again. Now, I'm not saying anesthesia is a magical cure. I believe something in that altered state of consciousness of anesthesia softened rigidities and stuckness that years of overly mechanistic medicine hadn't helped her with. The good news is that this is getting real attention these days. Researchers at Stanford are studying healing dreams under anesthesia, dreams that can save people's lives from real pain and even suicidal ideations. There's also this report of a woman going under anesthesia after a knife attack. She woke up from anesthesia healed from acute stress disorder. Now, that woman could have progressed to PTSD, but something about this altered state of consciousness changed her life path. I have plenty of videos on this. I've linked them in the description below, so be sure to check them out. And I believe this is related to the incredible research around the healing potential of IV ketamine, another form of anesthesia. There are hundreds of papers out there on the healing potential of ketamine for depression, anxiety, and even PTSD. In my clinic, I've guided thousands and thousands of sessions and firsthand seen patients transform their lives through the altered state of consciousness provided by IV ketamine. It appears very similar to these anesthesia dreams. Similarly for the stellate ganglion block. That's a procedure where I numb the fight-flight nerve in patients, and it allows a shutdown of that normal humdrum thinking that allows something deeper to come through, just like these anesthesia dreams. It's like shutting down the default mode network for those of you who are familiar. So anesthesia deactivates part of your brain, but activates other parts of your brain. And depending on the set and setting this activation happens in, some patients can have profound experiences, for good or for bad. It can be healing with the right doctors and the right settings, or it can be bad, like cause PTSD, when patients are injured, neglected, and gaslit. So here's what all doctors and nurses involved with surgery need to know. First, it's incredibly important to be thoughtful about how we speak to patients and around patients when they're under anesthesia. Definitely do not make fun of patients asking for positive affirmations when they're asleep. I've seen doctors ridicule patients just for asking this, and it's so wrong. Second, we shouldn't be dismissing patients who are describing strange or difficult to explain experiences after surgery. Just because we can't explain it or understand it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It means we need to be curious and engage deeper to better understand what happened. And third, this all reminds us that medicine does not fully understand consciousness. It definitely is not cut and dry, even though some pharmaceutical companies may suggest otherwise. To learn more about altered states of consciousness and my approach with IV ketamine and the stellate ganglion block, be sure to visit my San Francisco clinic's website at claris-health.com. And hit that like button and share what you've learned with others so you can better advocate for your health. And if you're intrigued by the mysteries of anesthesia, be sure to watch this video on the signs that patients may actually be awake when they should be asleep in surgery, and what you can do to minimize that risk. Remember, you have more power over your health than you've probably ever been told.